Alright, continue where I left off before I was so rudely interrupted because I was ready. Now, in the case of these episodes, well, where I left off here, because, well, I'll be discussing episodes 10 through 12. Now, what happened right after the game where Momo gave Todru the seeds? Well, and of course, when Mia arrived in the classroom. Well, after she was her attire, then she just, well, while Masiko was trying to protect her, she ended up tripping and breaking the actual seeds, and she gets tangled up in it along with the ghost girl. And somehow that alerts Momo because she can talk to plants. So they race back, and what happened to Colleen? I'm not really sure. So, and of course they free Tundra from it, and of course Yumi just happily there. Yes, when the heck she arrived in the room? Don't know. She just magically popped up in the room, which even I thought this is kind of weird. They become friends, and of course, Rito mentions to Nina, the Mia, that if she leaves, it'll make Nana sad. And, well, they is correct. And they revealed the master's name, Nemesis. That's the master's name, Nemesis. And Todro does know what Nemesis. It was basically a project that was started at the same time as well for Yumi and Nina, but it was shelved. It was deemed a failure, but somehow Nemesis survived. Well, if you're curious though what the heck she looks like, well, apparently, if I read online, she does not make her first full appearance the fourth episode of season 2, which I'll eventually talk about that later. It will be immediately. So, she leaves, and she does not play a role next episode. Nope, it's all about Momo. Excuse me, the whole episode is all about Momo. Where she fantasizes about Rito, where she fantasizes that he'd do with her on the couch, or, of course, later on, basically in a storage room. Typical Japanese anime would do this. And, of course, she's sleeping, or she also ends up sucking her own tail. Yes, for some reason she decided to do this, and Nana just happened to come in her room because she didn't want to copy her homework. She said, "Go to my room." The typical thing. And then it's revealed that apparently that Momo's got a fan club. Oh boy, this thing. Yeah, they're obsessed with guarding her. Like, why Momo? And the fact they don't like Rito because of all the false rumors around that he's a pervert. And of course, she does chastise him for it later on. So, she gets lonely without Rito. So, later on, the very next day, of course, we have Rito interact with Lala and a lot of the other girls. And then he gets a message from Momo to meet him in the storage room. Which, okay, there is an explanation for stuff like this. I've seen several different anime that like having, let's just say, erotic things happen in a storage in these PE storage sheds. Now, in case you're curious, though, like, is there like stuff like this in the U.S.? Well, I have not been to PE for a high school here because I went to a private school. We didn't have one of these. We did have a shed per se, but wasn't like this space doesn't have these mats in there. This is, of course, for Japanese high school. And then she basically has Rito fall. She basically pushes Rito over on these little mats, and she basically ends up pulling up his shirt, and it seems like doing it. And then all of a sudden it turns to eroticism. Look like they're about to do it, and then it just realizes though that she's still on top of him, and it was all a fantasy. And he touches her arm, and apparently spooks her. And then all of a sudden, the door, which had been sealed up by vines, had been freed. And of course, Mia herself gets real to want to do it. And of course, her fan club decided to beat the crap out of Rito, and of course, well, put him in public display, and of course, humiliate him. Momo gets angry at this and scolds them and says, "What you're thinking of him is wrong, and you need to apologize right now." And they all gather their hands and he said yes. And of course, then he just leaves it behind. And they say, "Scold us more." Yep. And of course, they walk away. And Momo's happy the fact she got to spend a little bit of time with Rito after not spending hardly any time with him at all, because she's in love with him, obviously, and of course that she mentions about the whole thing about the Project Harem thing, the fact she's very serious about it. Excuse me. There was at one point she was discussing adding Todoroki to the actual group, which would be kind of weird because she's actually Yami's mother. Yeah. And from what I can tell, Todoroki gets along. What I can tell from her interaction with it seems like it's now. You're probably wondering why I'm gonna call her Mia, because her name is Meia. Mea. It's to me, anyways, was from like that. It could pronounce as Mia or Mia, so I just call her Mia. Even though it's Mea, it's if Mia. Yeah, so I call her Mia. And of course she did not attack. She of course her role is sort of minor at best. Yami of course doesn't really do anything this episode at all. Surprisingly, yeah, that's a bit of something though. This whole thing is focused on Momo, because she's been able to get some character focus. So this is actually a whole episode focused on her, and well, she's lonely without Rito. Yep, and that's pretty much these 3 episodes, and that's the first season for you. Now, I am going to do the OVAs next. Basically, I've watched it for the series. And then I'm going to take a break. You're probably thinking, why am I going to take a break for the series? It's not that long. Well, because I want to the Jobless Reincarnation series. Well, that's a subtitle for it. Its full name is Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. That will start up soon. Oh, and I found out something quite interesting, though, about Matsu to Love Ru and this season for To Love Ru Darkness. They have a dub. I did not know they had a dub, because when I last looked at this 5 months ago, the only thing that was dubbed was To Love Ru. And apparently, Matsu to Love Ru has been dubbed. This season's been dubbed. But, what really bothers me, the OVAs have not been dubbed. Yeah, seriously, the OVAs have not been dubbed. Which I'm like, really? Isn't the Filmworks? Yeah, they're the ones who dubbed this thing. And I'm thinking, why haven't you dubbed the OVAs yet? They're not that freaking hard to do. I mean, it's just so strange. They do it for Izuran Goes On. They do it for that. But not for this series for some strange reason. And there's only 6 of them. Just basically treats like you do the series. Why the heck you want to dub them for? Because it's more erotic than the main series? I don't know what the reason is for it. But for the OVAs that came between this season and the second season, yes, I will watch those. But I'm not going to watch it just yet, because I'm going to watch, as soon as I put this video up and the previous one in my next video, I'm going to do the video I'm going to do, I have to do the next one, would be Comic Corner. Excuse me, do a video discussing the series finale for the 7 Deadly Sins. I'll discuss that soon. But next, a Comic Corner, okay? See you next video. Bye.